Mercedes-AMG Interview Lounge.
Oh my gosh. You know what makes me mad? Oh, listen, the Marano family must be here. Oh my Lord. You know what makes me mad? The Maranos look so early in the morning look so fantastic.
Stop. Yeah, no, we woke up like this totally. We didn't wake up at 5 in the morning. What? Hi.
No, but you look like you guys are ready for the red carpet, and I look like I'm ready to throw a tag sale.
Oh, be quiet. You do not. You always look good.
So Laura and Vanessa Marano are here, or if Vanessa gets her way, it's Vanessa and Laura Marano.
That's right. I came first into the world.
You did. You know what's funny? We were saying earlier, I said, yeah, Alex and I went out with the Maranos for drinks the other night, and someone said, they're underage. They can't be drinking. I said, honey, the calendar keeps moving.
Totally. I don't know. But I appreciate that comment.
You're talking about.
Because in Saving Zoe,
teenagers.
Totally. We're teenagers forever. But in Saving Zoe, I literally play a freshman in high school, which I don't think I can do anymore. Just for me, mentally, it's just too trippy.
Let me ask you this. At what age in Hollywood do you have to start lying about your age? Because everyone does it.
Almost immediately, because they can track that for the rest of your life.
I got replaced on a show when I was 11 because I was too old. Swear to God. Like, real story.
By the way, that's Laura speaking.
Yeah, I know. Can I say doing phone interviews has been, I feel so bad for the interviewer because we literally have to say, hey, this is Laura speaking, or hey, this, because our voices are a little similar.
Well, you have to do that here too.
Okay, there you go. This is Vanessa speaking.
Here's what we do. Like a game show, you should have like a special buzzer or a bell. And when it is time for you to answer a question, ding or and we
Laura.
So let's just say, Laura, I mean, you are 23 years old?
Yeah.
So, Vanessa, that makes you... Oh, she's at that age. She's not telling you.
Exactly.
That is so silly.
Well, it's funny because there's so many differences between the music and film and television. Thank you, Greg, for the buzzer. For the music and film and television industry, because in music, it's like they want you to seem older, right? Like it's like you want to seem older and more mature and it's a little sexier, but in film and television it's the complete opposite. Yeah. So me being in these two different worlds, it's very confusing because I'm like, how old am I?
One of my girlfriends used to sing, and she said,
by the way, that's Danielle speaking.
Yeah, she said, I'm going to come into the studio and do an interview with you, but don't say that I'm 25. Pretend I'm 22. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's also so funny, like with perception too, because it doesn't matter like if you look a certain age. So Laura and I run into this problem all the time. And by problem, I mean, when I'm 40, it's going to be awesome. Where people are like, oh, you're her little sister, right? Like people think genuinely I am younger than Laura. This happens repeatedly.
And I love it. I don't know why, but I love it.
So that gets said, but look, I can't even tell you how many times there's a casting for something and they'll see Laura for it and they'll be like, well, we can't see her older sister. Like she's too old for it. I'm like, you just asked me if I was her younger sister.
It makes no sense.
Like,
well, I mean, at the end of the day, none of it makes sense. I mean, the other day we were out having cocktails, enjoying a couple of stories, and we don't have to get into them if you want. The requests that producers and directors make of you when you're doing a TV show or a movie as a young woman.
By the way, it took me a second to realize what you're talking about. I was like, wait, okay, remember, what were we talking about during drinks? I'm like...
I will not embarrass you. But anyway, I mean, the request, especially about your weight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I mean, someone actually said to someone, you need to be anorexic if you want to keep this part.
Yeah, when the person was 16.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who went in for an agent when she was 16, and literally the agent was like, yeah, you're great, you can act, you're wonderful. You'd have to become anorexic, and not like you'd have to lose some weight. You'd have to become anorexic.
Also, by the way, she was pretty thin too. It wasn't like
she was the fact that's just an unrealistic point of view.
Well, okay, so exploitation, which will lead us, by the way, down the road to Saving Zoe, and we're going to get to that in just a second. I must say, on a personal note, Danielle Gandhi.
Yes.
I wish you could have been with us with the Marano family. Mom and Dad are fantastic. I'm in love with your dad, by the way.
Oh, everyone is.
And Alex is in love with your mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
He loves you guys. Anyway, so we took him out for cocktails, and then
at Saks, by the way, which is the best.
Saks Fifth Avenue has this bar called Chalet. You feel like you're in the Swiss Alps. It's
it's
weird.
Incredible. Yes.
Wow. So we had a drink or two, and we just really loosened up and we had political conversation. We had it all. We talked about everything,
and it bounced around like it was never just like a linear conversation either.
But I must equate the Marano family with the Gandhi family.
Oh, really?
Loud.
Yep.
opinions flying.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Also that.
Almost close to a skirmish from time to time.
Always.
But always love.
Okay.
Always
Yeah.
always
Skirmishes
love
are
skirmish.
just love
What's
taps
that?
every now and then. So when you get into a skirmish, it's like a love tap.
Yeah, it was.
A love
we,
hug.
we didn't get
A
too
love
close
yell.
to skirmish.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of fun. You can tell that growing up in the Marano household must have been a hoot.
It still is, let me tell you.
It was great. Mom, did you have a good time?
I had the best.
Yeah. Dad, did you have a good time too?
That was great.
Yeah.
Dad is so cute as a lax.
Dad originally from Italy, then moved to the Bronx and lost his Italian accent, and then realized that people will like him more with an Italian accent, and he got it back.
Or he also thinks he doesn't have an accent, which, Dad, you want to say a few more words?
Yeah. Hi, Dad. Good morning. You have to get close to the microphone, though. Welcome to New York City, Mr. Marano.
Nice to be here. Do I have an accent?
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Right?
All right, so let's get into Saving Zoe. Laura, last time you were here, we talked about this. And
Yeah.
Now here it is. It's out on demand. It's also playing in limited theaters across the country. This has been a 12-year project in the making. So you were 11
Yes.
when you guys started.
When I was too old for something.
That means Vanessa was like close to 20.
Yeah, Vanessa was 135 years old.
Through the Face app. Anyway, so where did this come from and why did it happen?
Well, a few things, and I think Vanessa can speak on this too. I think in some ways it was a very conscious choice. Our mother has been in the film and television industry for a very long time, and for us, things weren't going well necessarily in our acting careers. We'd been acting for 6 years at that point.
And it's funny too, like that. Even just starting this conversation with Laura being like, I got replaced because I was too old to be on something. Like that was just like a lot of things like that, like recastings, firings. I had gotten a movie that was supposed to be like this huge movie, like career changing, and then an investor embezzled money out of the film, and so like it was.
They were stuck in Germany. True story.
Yeah, it was a very interesting thing because we had to get out of Berlin and no one could get us out. Anyway. Basically, fun times. But essentially, like that with just the regular rejection that you get in the entertainment industry, too, both of our parents kind of sat us down and were like, you don't have to do this anymore. Like, just go to school. It's easier. Let's not. And Laura and I still were like, no, we really want to continue doing it. And my mom was like, okay, if we're going to do this, like, let's take our careers into our own hands. And we literally went to a Barnes and Noble and just picked out books with teenage girls on the cover.
And one of them was Saving Zoe.
One of them was Saving Zoe.
So then they gave it to me to read because I'm the reader. And so I read all of them and I was like...
We made her do the work.
Yeah, quite literally. So Vanessa is very smart and loves reading plays and scripts, but does not necessarily love reading books.
I was not going to read 17 different YA novels. I was,
and
Laura,
I was.
like, lives for that life. I was like, especially because, as you know, having dinner with all of us, we're very loud and we're very opinionated. So heaven forbid we all liked different books.
All right.
And then we were going to have to it was just, okay, pick the one that we should read.
So Saving Zoe hit a nerve with you, and tell me why.
For a few different reasons. I think as a sister, Saving Zoe at its core is a story about grief and is a love story between two sisters.
What happens in the story?
So it's dark. It takes place a year after the older sister Zoe has been murdered. And Echo finds her diary and realizes that her sister is not the person she thought she was, and that there's more to the story of her murder. So, as an 11-year-old reading this, it was dark, quite dark, but really gripping. And I think for me, something that I wanted to read, I was engaged in. And, I laughed, I cried. I was just like, this is special. And it was also talking about topics that I had never even thought about before. And so I gave it to my mom and I said, this one is really special. And my mom read it and she was like, this is really special. We got Vanessa to read it. Vanessa was like, this is really special. And we contacted the author. And the author, who is Alison Noel, like goddess angel of a woman, 11, 14 mom somehow gave us the rights to this book.
And said, go make a movie.
Go make a movie. And funny story, while she was actually writing the book, the inspiration for the book is her husband's twin had passed away from pancreatic cancer. Her husband actually had leukemia. He's a survivor. And so he was going through chemo as she was writing this book. And so they wanted something light to watch on television. And what did they watch? The Gilmore Girls, the season Vanessa was on. So while she was writing this book, she was watching Vanessa's face, which I think is actually kind of insane.
The irony of this whole thing being that was not a very well received character on Gilmore Girls that I played. In fact, it was a hated character.
Right.
So, one good thing came out of April Nardini on Gilmore Girls.
So, but the story of Saving Zoe is it's a very interesting story. It's something that everyone needs to hear. By the way, Laura and Vanessa Marano are here if you're just turning us on. Their film Saving Zoe is out, and we got to talk about why you should see it. So, Saving Zoe. Younger sister starts investigating why her older sister was murdered.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And essentially, without giving too much away, we end up diving into a very dark world of something that we didn't realize even had this name, but it is a form of human trafficking, basically, which is called online sexual exploitation.
Right.
And it's crazy because Saving Zoe, it took us 10 years to make the film, 2 years to get it distributed for this very reason, of it being a dark concept. And we kept hearing over and over again, young girls don't want this. They want fluff. They want light. They want just romance spoon fed to them. And
meanwhile, we're young girls.
Yeah,
and so we're like, we think we know what we want,
Right.
but of course we don't know what we want. So we got told over and over again. And to be honest, something that really opened up the door for us, a lot of things has to do with timing, but 13 Reasons Why. 13 Reasons Why came out. All of a sudden, everyone was like, we want dark YA, dark YA. And 10 years prior, we'd been like, we have this dark YA story.
But it's crazy to think that the book was written 12 years ago and this issue of online sexual exploitation is actually a bigger problem now.
Great conversation between moms and daughters, especially.
Totally.
And all parents, Danielle, wondering what your kids are doing and who are they talking to
All
online.
the time. Even when they're playing
Yes.
video games, then they're like, oh, we're chatting in the chat room in the video game. I go, who are you talking to? If you don't know them, I don't want you talking to them.
It's very true. It's very true. I mean, that's the thing. It's so insidious how it happens. So we were actually had the honor yesterday to be at the UN, which was just nuts, talking about this because basically it has, human trafficking has increased dramatically because of online, because of digital, because of technology.
And it doesn't have the face that I think everybody typically thinks that it looks like. Also,
No.
yeah, I think you think taken, you think like kidnapped, all that stuff. But especially because there's so many different ways to connect with people now, so many different ways to communicate. And you as a child have a way to directly contact people who maybe you shouldn't be in contact with and you don't realize that at a young age. It is so much more insidious than we even realize.
Human trafficking is such an unusually odd thing that a lot of people don't want to believe it happens. This is what I mean.
Totally.
You were in a hotel, Gandhi. Where were you?
Yeah, last year I was actually in India, and a lot of the hotels that we went to that were the nicer, more high-end places, they actually have signs at the front desk that say, this hotel does not support child trafficking. If you are here for that, move on. And we were all shocked, like, it is that serious that people are just open with it, and they come in and ask these questions. It's disturbing.
$99 billion industry.
Yeah. People don't want to believe it's happening. So
we met a survivor yesterday who is from here.
At the United Nations?
Yeah. Yes. We met a survivor. She was on the panel talking about it.
Just quickly, how did she, as fast as you can, not as fast, but edit it down. How did she get involved? A local girl.
Yeah, she's working with an organization, one of the organizations that was there talking at the panel.
How'd they pull her in?
But she was 12 years old, so it was a different time. It wasn't through online, but she had a very interesting and unique experience. And I can't obviously speak to her experience as well as she could, but from what she shared yesterday at the panel was she saw it go from being trafficked on the streets to how it worked online, and how basically as a perpetrator you could cozy up to a girl and then start essentially as a form of prostitution, selling her on the streets. But then all of a sudden we move into this world where you would only have control of one or two girls at a time during that period. Now with online, you can control hundreds. And you can, and I mean, hearing her speak, she was so eloquent and so brilliant. And as a student at Hunter College, she's going to be doing amazing things. But it was just this idea of like, wow, 12 years of trying to get this film made, 12 years of people saying we should not be talking about this. Young girls do not want to be talking about this. This girl is Laura's age. So that means she was being trafficked at the same time that we bought this book.
I know.
Off of Allison.
Here's what I want everyone listening to do. I want you to go a little out of your comfort zone, maybe. I want you to learn something new today. Okay, you've been hearing about trafficking. You've been hearing all these stories about Epstein and this and that and whatever. I want you to read more about it and understand this is a real thing that people have been sweeping under the rug along with the other issues we're trying to deal with on the planet. Let's make this one your headline today. And with Laura and Vanessa and, of course, Mom involved with Saving Zoe, there's people that you know and trust that are actually giving you an opportunity to learn more through this film.
Absolutely. And it's a dark film, don't get us wrong. But the thing that we loved so much about Allison's book and what we connected to, especially as sisters, is all the subjects that it talks about, it still has an uplifting message at the end. You don't leave our
don't
film.
ruin it for me.
I know.
Elvis is now less inclined to watch it.
He's like, I want to be depressed.
Sad.
But it doesn't, it ends hopefully. And I think for us, the biggest hope from people who watch the film is like, that hope that the film ends with is like we can start a dialogue and a conversation of truly how to implement ways to end this issue politically.
So,
and yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's very important because I think specifically Laura and I have a younger fan base, and that's who this is directly affecting. And we just want them to be aware and be able to have a conversation and be able to have an honest conversation with their parents. Like you said, we made it with our mom. Like it's a terrific door of something for a mother and a daughter to sit down and watch together and really have what would have possibly been an uncomfortable conversation to have without this piece of material being like the bridge that gaps that.
So you have a daughter, or you have a best friend who has a daughter, or you have a niece that you love so much and she's like a daughter to you. You're tier one. You have to see Saving Zoe. And for the rest of us who just are interested in knowing what's going on in this world, and we need to know what's happening around us, it affects us one way or another.
Totally.
At the very least, you read stories in the newspaper. What does it all mean? Why are they talking about human trafficking? What does that mean to me? It means something to everyone.
Totally.
So this is why I want you to check out Saving Zoe. And then after that, if you ever see Laura and Vanessa and their mom and dad in a bar, sit down,
Please.
sit down and have cocktails.
Well,
with
you
them.
have the opportunity. We're going to be actually in one of the New York local theaters tomorrow.
We're going to be at the West Nyack AMC. I think it's Palisades 21. And we're
Okay.
going to be doing a panel afterwards with the author of the book, Allison Noel, Laura, myself. My parents will be there.
They're
Drinks
fabulous.
might be happening. It'll be great.
We're not serving drinks at the AMC. I think I need to really preface that right now.
Okay, online they can catch all this information
Yeah,
where?
you can go. Well, you can go to Equality Now, which is an organization we're working with, which I think has a lot of information about human trafficking. Meanwhile, about Saving Zoe, I mean, you can
follow
you
Laura
can follow
Marano
us.
and Vanessa Marano.
Yes, and it's online. If you aren't near a theater, literally you can buy it on iTunes, buy it on Amazon.
Pretty much any place that you can buy something on video on demand. Spectrum, DirecTV, Sling, Amazon and iTunes. Saving Zoe is available.
There's so many we've found out. So there's one called Hoopla.
We did.
You didn't know you're on Hoopla?
Yeah, oh, we do now. We did an Instagram story recently where we just listed off all the different ways that you can watch Saving Zoe. There are 17, guys.
Oh,
there
nice.
are 17.
Yay!
17.
All right. I love that. And you know what? I must say something kind of weird, but I'm so happy that you guys in your acting career found this pothole.
Yes.
True.
Because all actors do. This is not
Yeah.
unusual. And because of that, this important message is living in Saving Zoe. I think that's fabulous.
You have to
100%.
believe in fate, for
Let's
sure.
hear it for failure.
Yay!
Yay, failure.
A very important part of the journey.
Did not mean that. Laura and Vanessa Marano, thank you guys
Thank
for
you
coming in.
so
Thank you for having
much.
us.
All right,
Love you.
cocktails.
The Mercedes AMG Interview Lounge.